Okay, I'd like to call the January 7th, 2024 evening Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Our first business tonight will be a citizens forum, which is an opportunity for anyone to come forward and address the board regarding any topics that are not on tonight's agenda. If you come forward, please make sure to keep your comments to 3 minutes or under and to follow our code of conduct. Is there anyone that would like to come up and speak? Hang on, Dave. Mr. Martin, hang on. Doesn't matter.
Can't see who you're pointing to. David Martin, Stevensburg District. Earlier today, this board voted to make no changes to the county's A1RA minor subdivision ordinance, one of two aspects of what some have coined as Culpeper's war on property rights. The other aspect being the removal of much-needed multifamily residential entitlements from existing CS districts. I strongly support this morning's vote and look forward to participating in any future process that comes to pass. I especially appreciate Supervisor Deal's heartfelt comments regarding each board member's sincere desire to do what's right for Culpeper, his laser-like focus on the issues that matter to most Culpeper residents, schools, roads, emergency services, and affordable housing, and how desire to protect agriculture must coexist with these other needs. Supervisor Underwood mentioned looking at Culpeper's growth comprehensively. I believe his intention is to balance Culpeper's agricultural heritage with his current needs for, again, schools, roads, emergency services, and affordable housing. These comments from Supervisors Deal and Underwood resonate strongly with most of Culpeper. However, I also heard from one supervisor refer to a recent town hall where another supervisor meetings were railroaded, filled with misinformation, and constituents were not talking sensibly to explain one size. I was at this meeting and have a different perspective, which I would like to share with this whole board. What I saw was a supervisor trying to pit large farmers, her words, against landowners. Many of these landowners just want to retire comfortably or give something to their kids, things they've worked their whole lives for. I also saw this supervisor try to demonize another farmer that has spent his entire life in Culpeper playing by the rules, hasn't asked for special treatment or changing to zoning or ordinance to benefit him, but has sold a small tract of low-producing land so he could buy larger tract or additional farm equipment. Sometimes you have to sacrifice the small to save the large. Finally, and most disturbingly, this supervisor, my supervisor, referred to an affordable housing project that I have been working on for over 2 years in the context of, quote, well, let's talk about trailer parks then. Let's be clear, this was meant to be derogatory and shows why I and many others have lost confidence in her ability to be an honest broker. We as a county have a lot of work to do and we all have to compromise. But we need supervisors that we trust to balance everyone's needs, not just their own self-interest. Your needs to move a combine up and down the roads should not trump my kids' needs for affordable housing. Just very quickly. I think that what's the next election is going to be about. Who do we trust with these issues? Tonight I ask this board to listen to all of Culpeper, make no more changes to our zoning ordinances until both incumbents and challengers have been able to make their case directly with the voters. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Please state your name and magisterial district.
Hi, I'm Kurt Christensen. I'm from the Stevensburg District in Richardsville. I missed this morning's meeting, but based on what I heard, I have a lot of thank yous. Mr. Durr, your elected chair, confidence of your board. I wish you the best of luck, and I think we needed a change here. And Mr. Deal, I think you're vice chair, and thank you for that. And I was most pleased that a decision was made. I think you guys voted unanimously today to stop the rural downzoning, and that's wonderful. And I believe Mr. Lee made that motion, and I thank you. And we could make you an honorary resident of Richardsville, and I'd probably like you better than my supervisor than the one I have now. But I also heard about these town hall meetings and disparaging remarks that somebody made. I attended a town hall meeting on the 2nd of November that Mr. Durr had, and I attended one on the 19th of December in my district in Brandy. And these were not railroads, and this was not misinformation. These were mom and pop citizens talking about their property rights and threats to their wealth and losing rights. I don't see how we can demonize that. You know, that's not misinformation. It's facts, and people got it. And the problem with this process was it was top down. It started at the Rules Committee, and then, which didn't represent all you guys, and then it got fed to us. And I think what the bottom line here is not misinformation, it's one line. The dogs don't like the dog food. So, congratulations, good work today, and look forward to working with everyone this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Haight.
Good evening, Don Haight, Stevensburg. Happy New Year to all you board members as well as those in attendance here tonight and those watching at home. I want to thank Mr. Bates for a job well done this past year. I want to welcome Mr. Durr as chairman, and I'm looking forward to working with him and the other board members to continue to make Culpeper a great place to live. I want to thank the board for voting this morning 7-0 to follow the Planning Commission's suggestions to make absolutely new changes to the zoning code. It proves that the Board of Supervisors can listen to Culpeper residents, and we thank you all for that. Gary Dale said it best today at the morning meeting. We all love Culpeper, and we all want what's best for our families. Working together can be achieved. I urge everyone to go back and listen to Gary's speech this morning. It may not be available until next week. In my opinion, it was one of the best speeches that he has done in the 8 years, and I want to thank him for that. I'm happy that you Board of Supervisors realize that public engagement meetings are a must, and we all look forward to having them and engaging in dialogue. Two-way communication is the only way to solve problems. Staff being there to answer questions is priceless, and we all saw that with the revisions of the comprehensive plan. We also encourage more supervisors to hold town hall meetings. This is critical because it allows supervisors to ask the many questions residents have directly. Meeting places and times should be convenient so everyone has the opportunity to attend. The solution isn't one-dimensional. There are many moving parts, moving in all directions, and we need to look at it with a wide lens. These meetings must be held in a professional manner and respect for the opinions of others, whether you agree or disagree. It's okay to have different opinions. That's how we grow as a community. That's not okay if people are yelling at each other and using foul language. That's how people act in Northern Virginia, and we don't treat our neighbors like that here in Culpeper. We are better than that, and we are a close-knit community that call each other's neighbors, even though we live miles apart. There was an incident at Brownie Station a few weeks ago where a resident got out of their chair, took steps towards another resident, and yelled several four-letter words across the room, starting with S. This behavior isn't and will never be tolerated here in Culpeper. I urge Susan G., please inform your husband, Rocky, that this behavior isn't welcome at our meetings ever again. My name is Donald Hay Jr. I love Culpeper, and I am here to stay. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come and speak? Okay, we will close the citizens forum. We have an agenda before us. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, we will move forward. We have one special presentation this evening that we would like to make. The board will formally recognize Clive Richmond for his dedicated service to the Culpeper County Electoral Board. Mr. Egertson, if you would read the recognition, and Mr. Richmond, would you meet me at the podium?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It'd be my pleasure. This is a resolution of appreciation in honor of Clive R. Richmond. Whereas Clive Richmond will be leaving the Culpeper County Electoral Board, a board on which he has served for 12 years. And whereas Mr. Richmond served as vice chairman and secretary during his tenure. And whereas Clive's commitment to the betterment of the community and especially to the electoral process has been unparalleled as evidenced by his long-tenured service. And whereas Clive has been a steadfast advocate for fairness, integrity, and transparency in the electoral process. And whereas beyond his professional dedication, Clive has brought wisdom, compassion, and leadership to his role, leaving an indelible mark on our community. And whereas his contributions have made a lasting impact, and all those who worked alongside him are better for having had the privilege to do so, now therefore be it resolved that as Clive steps into this new chapter of his life, we wish him health, happiness, and the fulfillment of every aspiration, and be it further resolved that the Board of Supervisors thanks Mr. Richmond for his outstanding service and for being an inspiration to us all, presented this 9th day of January 2025.
Yeah, I'll just talk to you about a quick anecdote. I was appointed in, I guess, 2012, and I went into the registrar's office in January of 2013, and I introduced myself to everybody that was in there. And Melissa Hart was assistant registrar back then, and she walks over and hands me a piece of paper. She says, "You have to fill this out." I said, "Why? What is this?" She said, "You have to fill that out to get paid." And I said, "I get paid?" I thought it was a volunteer position. I really did. And I would have done it as a volunteer. I enjoyed every minute of it. I felt useful. So thank you all very much for the recognition.
Thank you, Clive.
You got to get a new building.
A new building?
Yeah, registrar's office for the whole county. You know, when the taxes come in from all the, y'all need a new building. Oh, good. Data centers.
Next on the agenda is general county business, and we have no general county business this evening. Number 6, Planning Commission business, public hearings. We have 3 items on the Planning Commission business this evening. Number 601, case Z 464-24-1. The Board of Supervisors will consider a resolution by Marvin Jenkins to rezone 10.64 acres from A1 agricultural to LI light industrial. And I would ask our new Director of Planning, Mr. Cooley,
Yes, sir.
to please introduce this item.
Yes, sir. This case was considered by the Planning Commission after proper advertising and public hearing held on Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. The Planning Commission found that the proposed rezoning request is supported of the general purposes of promoting the health, safety, and general welfare of the public and supportive of goals as described in the 2023 Comprehensive Plan. Upon motion duly carried, the Planning Commission recommends to the Board of Supervisors by a 6-0 vote that the proposed rezoning request be approved with acceptance of applicant's proffer statement currently dated, and that's November 14th, and that is incorrect, I apologize, December 17th, 2024, with the following suggested revisions, which they have done in the updated proffer amendments. One of the biggest ones being that they have agreed to, they've committed not to store any junk vehicles on the property. As part of the proffers, they are changing their use to auto trailer sales and service and automotive repair, another request of staff. Right now, the applicant does not does not have any VDOT comments. VDOT has said that they will deal with their comments during the site plan process. Water and sewer, the applicant has an updated permit from DEQ for a domestic sewage system. And the applicant has agreed with all of the requests of staff and also the reviewing agencies. And the Planning Commission and staff are recommending approval of this rezoning. The applicant is in the audience tonight, and I'm sure if the board would like, they would come up and speak to you about it.
Is there any questions for Mr. Cooley before we invite the applicant up?
Mr. Chairman, I do have one question. Mr. Cooley, on the, any of the items, when we talk about VDOT approval, in other words, any site plan that comes up that would have to require soil and water, VDOT, all those agencies would,
All of the agencies that also reviewed this will also review it, and VDOT's comment letter stated, we will deal with this at site plan process.
so as for traffic count?
Yes,
whatever,
sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir. And entrances. I think their biggest thing is entrances.
okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cooley, so the land that is, I'm looking at the map with the
Yes, sir.
red drawing. So that, the property on the inside of that and to the left of that is already zoned light industrial, is that correct?
If we look toward the back, in the middle here, this is currently zoned the CS. The red area is what the Jenkins are looking to rezone to, gee whiz, to light industrial.
Right. And then to the left is light industrial, correct?
The purple here,
Yes, sir.
the purple is also, I think it's light industrial.
Yes, it is, uh-huh.
And,
Yes, yeah.
and down here also, where the storage yard down here is light industrial. So there's light industrial along that road. And Hubbard's Lane does have some other commercial, I think, up the north, to the north.
All right, okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for staff? Mr. Jenkins, would you like to come up and talk to us? Tell us what you're doing?
Good evening. Mrs. Jenkins.
My apologies.
It's okay. Everything that we've asked for is in the proffer statement and in the request, but I'm happy to ask or answer any questions that I can, that you might have.
Any questions for the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. And Marvin, I see him at lunch on Thursdays a lot of times at Pete's, and outgoing as he is, I would think he would want to come up here too. But looks like he's sitting back there. My question for something like this is always what I ask every applicant. What are you doing for screening? And can you be specific as far as what you're going to provide for screening, and what are the conditions that are in place to make sure that the necessary screening is provided?
Sure. So there's a natural buffer along the front of the property, where the building currently is. Yep. So there's a natural buffer along the front. Our intention is to fence in the perimeter of our property more for security. And then the second piece of property that comes down, there's a large area of wooded property that we have no intention of taking any trees or vegetation out of or away from the property. So in terms of a buffer, you really can't see any of the back property from Hubbard's Road. You can't see any of the property at all from 29.
Wintertime as well?
Most of those are evergreen. You can't see anything right now today. Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff or further discussion? Is there a motion? I'm sorry, public hearing. We're going to open up a public hearing on this change. Is there anyone that would like to come forward and speak? Okay, we will close the public hearing. And now we will have further discussion or open it up to a motion.
I would make the motion that we approve the rezoning as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion?
Yeah, I'm going to support the motion, Mr. Chairman. I talked to Sam earlier today, and he was fine with this application and said that the screening and the buffer is very sufficient for the service that they're providing.
Any other comments, discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Our next case is case number Z-46624-1. The Board of Supervisors will consider a request by Compton and Dooling LC, River Knolls, to rezone 135.58 acres from R1 residential to R3 residential. And Mr. Cooley, would you please introduce this case?
Yes, sir. The applicant is proposing to use the property for single-family detached units, 140 dwelling units with a cluster design, per the proffer statement submitted by the applicant dated October 16th. Again, the property is located off Old Bridge Road, Route 622 in the Jefferson Magisterial District, tax map and parcel number 2-23. The case was considered by the Planning Commission after the proper advertisement and public hearing was held on Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. The Planning Commission found that the proposed rezoning request is supportive of the general purposes of promoting the health, safety, and general welfare of the public and supportive of goals as described in the 2023 Comprehensive Plan. Upon motion duly carried, the Planning Commission recommends to the Board of Supervisors by a 5-0 vote that the proposed rezoning request be approved with acceptance by applicant's proffer statement currently dated October 12, 2024, with suggested revisions regarding buffers from existing residential properties and reservations along Old Bridge Road, Route 622, as discussed during the Planning Commission's public hearing held on December 11, 2024. I believe the reservation of property was for right-of-way. There were a number of agencies that did respond to our request. One was VDOT. Currently, the property is zoned R1 and would allow up to 147 houses over the whole property. They can do that by rate. This is a rezoning, and we could have asked for a TIA, but I have not seen that request or seen a TIA provided by the applicant, and that could be because we're actually reducing the number of residences. They've reduced the number of residences they want to build. I'm just throwing that out as a piece of information. VDOT did have a number of other comments. Consider the future needs of Route 622 and if right-of-way dedication should be made. That is one thing that I know staff did talk to the applicant about. VDOT did have some other questions about traffic movement and traffic making left turns onto Route 211. So that was their comments, and I'll leave it there. The next agency was Culpeper County. Paul Howard, Director of Environmental Services. basically saying that the plans, he has talked to the developer and is just providing them with general information. All water and sewer utility construction methods and materials shall conform to the town of Culpeper and Culpeper County Water and Sewer Utility Standards Manual. Basically, Mr. Howard informed the applicant that they would be allowed to connect into the existing water and sewer system up there at Clevenger's. And this letter is just saying, here's what you need to do, here are the rules you need to follow. So that was another agency review. And the last is Culpeper Soil and Water had some very minor comments. There are a few lots located in swales and such like that. Richard Jacobs with Soil and Water would be another reviewing agency once the site plan came in. It doesn't, at this point, he didn't have any major comments, but he would have the ability to review it again. So right now, the Planning Commission did recommend this for approval to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Cooley.
Yes, sir.
Is the applicant here tonight? The applicant is not here, and I had heard there was an issue when our meeting was rescheduled with them. So I would entertain a motion that we reschedule this for next month.
I would wonder first, has the applicant asked for a deferral?
I do not know the answer.
I mean, that would be a reasonable question, wouldn't it?
Supervisor Underwood, I know the applicant indicated to Sam that he might request a deferral, but we never got that request in writing. But I do believe, as Mr. Durr stated, that the scheduling of the meeting from Tuesday to Thursday impacted their ability to be here.
I defer to Mr. Rosenberger on whatever we do here. I defer to Mr. Rosenberger relative to Mr. Rosenberger's district, period.
Mr. Rosenberger, do you have any comments?
I find it kind of curious that they didn't ask for a deferral if they had a problem, or ask for a payment if they had a problem being here. I mean, anybody would have done that. But it's been the board's policy to allow, when somebody's not here, doesn't have time to come. We did, we changed the application when we get it. I would move
Till the next meeting, second.
We have a motion and a second.
the date for the past meeting, you can make that one.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's passed. This is postponed until next month. The next case is case number Z 467-24-1. The Board of Supervisors will consider a county-initiated rezoning of certain parcels within two established subdivisions known as Three Flags and Overlook Heights from CS, Commercial Services, to residential, to match the primary zoning district within the respective subdivisions. And Mr. Cooley, would you please lead us
Yes,
into
sir.
this discussion?
The Board of Supervisors is seeking to rezone a portion of the parcels, within two established subdivisions known as Three Flags and Overlook Heights from CS, Commercial Services, to match the primary zoning district within the respective subdivisions, R3 Residential in Three Flags and R1 Residential in Overlook Heights. The proposed rezoning would align the zoning districts with the actual use of the existing properties. Three Flags is accessed from Madison Road, Route 299 in the Cedar Mountain District. Overlook Heights is accessed from Mountain Run Lake Road, Route 718 in the Salem Magisterial District. The following parcels would be amended by this change. Tax map and parcel numbers 38B, 1, 1, and 2, and 6, and 51. 50W1, A and E and F and N, then 144-1 to 146, 149 to 154, 170 to 184, and 196 to 211. This case was considered by the Planning Commission after the proper advertising and public hearing held on Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. The Planning Commission found that the proposed rezoning request is supportive of the general purposes of promoting the health, safety, and general welfare of the public and supportive of goals as described in the 2023 Comprehensive Plan. Up on the screen, Mr. Durer, I just have the overall map. So here is the Three Flags area in red that would be rezoned from commercial services to R3. And here, it's kind of a little bit hard to see, are the lots in the Overlook Heights that would be rezoned from commercial services. I got that backwards, sorry. Overlook Heights from commercial services to R3, to R1 and residential. Boy, I lost my place, excuse me. And again, this is just, obviously, the board knows that this is just a cleanup of the zoning districts to ensure, to bring the uses in line with their actual, to bring the zoning classification in line with the actual uses of the property.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Cooley?
Yes, relative to Overlook Heights, it appears that the parcels are not in conformance with, well, maybe they were. Was it done as an R1 cluster? Or how do you, which it doesn't appear to be, and it appears that some of the parcels are under 3/4 of an acre. So if we were to rezone to R1, are the parcels conforming?
Legal non-conforming?
They'd be legal non-conforming?
Legal, I mean, the board is making this choice, so yes,
Correct.
I would say they would be legal non-conforming.
Yes, and so my concern, and I'm sorry I'm just noticing this now and not bringing it up before, but my concern is the other parcels are grandfathered because they're legal non-conforming. If we're rezoning now, then would these be grandfathered or not?
I think that could depend on the attorney you talk to, Mr. Underwood, but these lots have also been used as residences for a long time, so they're already legal non-conforming.
Well,
So, I mean, I see what you're saying, but as the Board of Supervisors would be making this change, the board is the one responsible for the code. The zoning ordinance is part of the code. I think this would be an allowable change. This is my opinion, I'm not an attorney, because it's the board's choice to make this change.
I agree, of course, with all of that. It's an allowable change. But if the board wished to be extra careful, which would not permit another house at all, but also would allow these people to alter their houses if they needed, for Overlook Heights, if we did R2, they would conform and have no more rights, but would have the ability to adjust their houses as needed. I'm concerned that if we did R1, they could run into legal headaches if they wanted to add a porch or, an ADA ramp or whatever else. I'm sorry I didn't notice this before, but it just occurred to me looking at how small the lots were that maybe they don't conform, and it'd be nice for us to rezone. They do conform to CS. It'd be nice for us to rezone them somewhere where they still conform. Mr. Hagerson, do you have
Mr.
any thoughts?
Hagerson, do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I would note first that 3 out of the 4 lots impacted are more than half zoned residential 1 currently.
Correct.
The last one, I don't know the size of it, but the minimum lot size in an R1 district can be as little as 40,000 square feet, so just a little bit less than an acre. But I would argue that they're legal non-conforming now, and they still will be if you take this action tonight.
If they are, and that's our opinion, great. The current lot that is all commercial is .69 acres.
So a little less than the R1 minimum.
So my fear, is that, well, I just hope we're not creating a problem for that one constituent. If we're not, I'm happy going forward if we all believe that.
I too am not a lawyer, but that would be my opinion. I think I'd have to concur with Mr. Cooley.
Cool.
Other questions or further discussion? Okay, then we're going to open a public hearing. Public hearing is now open. Would anyone like to come and speak? Hearing no one, we will close the public hearing and open it up to further discussion or a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the draft ordinance of, the draft ordinance in our packet for approval relative to the rezoning of CS to R3 and Three Flags and R1 and Overlook Heights respectively.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Is there any further business? We are adjourned.